showing up, and also that you care and value yourself enough to understand how to, or the importance of knowing your value in real estate. I'm going to start off by saying this, and I'm going to turn it over to these esteemed colleagues, but you have to understand, I've been in the real estate business since, let's see, I started in 1986. I worked for a top producer in the business, and then in 1987, I went out on my own. And the commission rate at that time was 7%. Then it changed to 6%, a few years later. Now, we haven't had a raise in 35 years, okay? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're working harder now than you've ever worked. The stress of multiple offers, I mean, it's a problem we love to have, right? We get a listing and it sells quickly. But it takes knowledge, finesse, and skill to manage that situation professionally. Then a buyer, I think I read in an NAR article, a buyer now, on average, you're going to write 5 offers for. And you know something? You're not getting paid for those failed offers. So, I don't think I believe in cutting commissions even for close friends and family anymore. Now, I know there are agents in here, a lot of them, who every week, they're always the same people, and of course they're not here. So it's interesting to me, the people that should be here don't show up. Well, I did a deal with this person 10 years ago. This person buys and sells from me. I want to do a 5% commission. And I've always believed that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. So I always err on the side of generosity, okay? So when I was an agent out in the field, if someone listed a home with me and they wanted to buy through me, as long as they signed a buyer brokerage agreement, I would give them 5.5% commission on the listing side or 5%. But that was then, okay? This is now, and it's getting, it's tough. The business is hard, all right? So the reason that Bree Krebs and Marcia Bagley are here today is they never, ever asked me to cut a commission. So and I know, Bree, you do a lot of repeat business.
Oh, yeah.
And Marcia, you're still relatively new, but you're already getting repeat business.
Well, honestly, my repeat customers understand why we get what we get.
All right, so why don't we start there? Bree,
Yes.
I know you get a lot of repeat business. I have never gotten an email from you that says, I sold this person a house 2 years ago, and they're going to buy something from me. Can I do a 5% commission? So let's talk about your personal business practice around this.
Well, I mean, first of all, they're coming back to me for a reason, right? Because they know I do a fantastic job and that they can count on me. And they also know that they're going to get their money's worth. I mean, let's face it. When you do a discount commission, it's like anything else. When you do a discount, you get discounted results. And what most sellers want is a higher bottom line, right? And on average, our properties sell higher than the marketplace. So that alone pays for the addition in commission. And I think in the mindset of a lot of customers, this doesn't happen to me much because they all know how I am. I'm very straightforward. We're very regimented on how we get things done. But they're ultimately wanting more money, and they understand that if you really put in all of the systems, the fact alone that you're with Berkshire Hathaway, even if you never sold anything or done anything in the world, you have so many systems that put your properties out in front of potential buyers, so many more than those discount brokers. Because look, kind of think about it, it's like you put your property in one place and you put it in 43,000 places. Who's going to get more offers and more showings and more multiple offers? And today, especially in a multiple offer situation where you get 5 offers, it's your job to help those sellers understand which is the best offer and which one is actually going to go through and net them the most amount of money. Because one can look really, really pretty, but it's got all these pie in the sky contingencies or whatever else, and the buyer may, or the seller may think, okay, this is a great offer, but then when you really boil it down to them, they realize, okay, that might not be so. And with your discount brokers, they just simply aren't going to do that. I mean, I can't imagine any of them doing it. Most of them are just, slapping them together, turning them and burning them. They don't have the contract expertise that we have, and that's one of our benefits of Wiseman. As we get to know so much more about how the contracts work. I mean, that's our job these days. Our job is to protect our consumer. And the discount brokers just don't provide that same service. When you think about the Rhonda Duffys and these other people that basically you're on your own. You figure it out. And
Yeah, Rhonda Duffy or a flat fee broker, you're actually doing all the work.
You're doing all the work.
You as the sales agent doing all the work. So, Brew, you have a good client who's done business with you before, and they call you up and say, hey, Brew, so-and-so said you can list it for 5%. Will you do that? What do you say?
No.
Good.
That's it. That's all I said. No. Any other questions? And usually they're like, no, okay. And that's just the way it goes. And then if they continue in on that, I asked that question, I said, well, from what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you really want to take more home when you close the sale of your property. Is that correct? And then they say, yes, of course that's what they want. Well, by doing things the right way, I mean, I'm sure you've gone to a store before and bought something that was super discount and came home and it broke, right? And then you had to go out and buy the real one. Well, you end up paying for it twice. And that's typically what happens when you go with a discount broker. You get discounted results. And let's face it, if that discounted broker made a 1 or 2% mistake, let's say in not getting you the appraisal or helping you negotiate the repair terms or picking the wrong buyer for you, you've already cost yourself more than that discounted commission, right? So you're not only am I putting that money back in your pocket, but I'm also taking all the headaches off of it. Because my job is to make sure that we market the home properly, get you the most offers possible, the most amount of money for the property, follow it through from contract to close, making sure the buyer made their loan application, did their appraisal get done, did we meet the appraiser? If we had multiple offers, did we get that higher price? Because a lot of times, you get this crazy high price, but the appraiser might not be willing to give you that if you don't have somebody that knows how to talk to that appraiser and bring them the comparables and show them how to get the value. The likelihood is that your sales price is going to come in lower than or your appraisal price is going to come in lower than what the contract is. 1%, 2%, bam, there's your money right there, right back in your pocket, right? Just in that one little thing. Let alone the fact you might save money on negotiating repairs, or if the contract fell through, for God's sakes. Everybody knows what happens when they come back on the market. What do they think, bro? What does somebody think when the property comes back on the market?
Something's wrong.
Something is wrong with this. It's the kiss of death. You do not want that property to come back on the market. So your full service agent who knows what they're doing and who has trained and studied and works with people who mastermind this stuff on a regular basis is going to be able to help your seller actually get the amount of money that they want for the home. I mean, discount broker is going to say, okay, appraiser, show up. Oh, it didn't come in. It came in $20,000 short. Oh, well, seller, guess what? You're going to have to now discount your home 4%, and that 2% or 1% you were saving is now down to 12, right?
Literally.
Down to 12,
All right.
plus 3 more percent.
Thank you, Marcia. Your pretty orange dress. And again, I mean this, paying her a compliment. She has been in the business, 3.5 years now, give or take? So you have and I don't think discounting your commission has ever even entered your mind. So, which I appreciate, because when you're newer, sometimes you're confident. It takes a while to build that confidence, right? So Marcia, tell us about your personal business practice around commissions.
Around commissions. So, well, first of all, that was pretty conclusive there, Brew. Thank you for your entire listening presentation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go that far.
No, anybody who took notes, I want a copy of that, because this was the first open house that I hosted was for Brew, and it was a tsunami of information, and I learned quickly that I was surrounded by pros in the business who weren't discounted in any way, and this was a full-time job. So I can't talk about my business without talking about my value, and I can't talk about my value without talking about Miss Mallory Levin. So,
Valerie.
oh, that's right.
Broker value.
So if you haven't taken Valerie's class, How to Be Fascinating with Sally Hogshead, you should take it. If you've taken it, take it again.
I need to offer it again, I will do that, thank you.
It's a wonderful class. You can go on YouTube and watch the video of Sally Hogshead, but Valerie brings a lot of practical, granular information with that. Sally talks a lot in her videos about, how to be fascinating and your energy and all these kind of bigger things. But some of Valerie's advice that I took notes on in that class, I think. The first thing is interview yourself. And that's how we were taught to write our biography. And I learned so much about myself when I interviewed myself, literally in traffic, driving home that day. I just interviewed myself. Yeah, so, and you get past what was your last job, or what did who you're married to or your kids, if you keep going. And so that, I learned a lot about myself in that practice, was to interview myself and write my biography, which we then submitted for edits.
Yeah.
And it came back, and the biggest thing I learned is that I have a passion for service and first class service. I've always been that way. I always like things to be pretty and nice and comfortable. I always did that in my previous industry, and I seem to do it here too. And so that's a big part of my practice, is I try to bring as much value in the experience. And so regarding a discount and commission, I think the biggest part that gives me the confidence to say no when I'm asked is the theory of infinite business. And this is another thing that Valerie introduced to me, is that abundance is not finite. There is abundance for everyone boundlessly. And in the How to Be Fascinating class, that was one of the things that we learned, is that you're already fascinating. And it's just figuring out, right, Nikisha? And it's just figuring out what it is that you are, and loving it and nurturing it and giving it as a gift to those around you. Another note I made was discount brokers are not as big of a threat as we think. I don't get asked that much to discount my business. I really don't. A quick no will get you onto more business, or if you're Brie Krebs, a no will open up a whole opportunity to prove your value, which was very interesting. You answered quickly with a no, period, but then went right into the value and kept it there. But I don't think that discount stores or brokers or discount business is a true indicator of client or consumer confidence. I think it lies in what is your value. And if you know that, people are very rare to question it, I have to say.
So if a friend or family member that you
I notoriously in my family will not cut commission with them.
or someone says, hey Marcia, I want you to list my house and I'm going to buy something else. Can you discount the listing commission? What is your response?
I don't think you want me to do that.
Oh.
And here's why. And then I start with my statistics. Houses sold by realtors net 20% more for the seller. So you're already gonna make 14% more. I have clients who pay me 6.5 or 7%, and here's why. I'll develop a marketing strategy and a pricing strategy and this and that and the other, and then I show my value and my worth. Another thing I want to say is knowing your value and your worth and building confidence in the beginning is these people. 40 years, 30, 20 years, I don't know how many minutes.
It was a builder first.
It was a builder first. Use their experience. You were not hired by accident into this office.
Well, and I'll tell you, when people ask you what your commission is, 6, 7, or 8, which one would you prefer? Guess which one they're going to choose. Okay.
That's good, Brie. I
It's
like
great, works
that.
every time. And to your point about when I say no, I do not say another word unless they question it further. That's it. If they, if they're like, no, and they're okay with it, we just keep on going. I do not go into further expounding upon why. Now, if they say, but, then you go in and explain these things. I'm curious, what are some reasons that you guys what questions would you get that people would ask you to cut your commission? What are some of the things that you're getting that object against your full price commission? Anybody have one?
I have one. Most for sale by owners, they'll say I can sell it myself. And
Yes, you can.
You absolutely can. And statistically, you will probably get 20% less for your home. If you list with us, not only am I going to take all of those headaches off of you, you're going to have the best contracts in the business, you're going to have somebody that markets it to the most amount of people, gets you the most amount of the money for the home, and make sure that it closes, but I'm going to put another 10 to 14% in your pocket. Would you like to have another 10 to 14% in your pocket?
And we do for multiple offers. I think clients need us more than ever now.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's tough. And the thing is, let's say, for example, let's say that for sale by owner gets lucky, they get multiple offers. How are they going to choose? Are they going to know how to do their backups? Are they going to know how to follow up on the, if it's a finance offer, on the application for loan, has the appraisal been ordered, meeting the appraiser, making sure that you get the comps, working through the home inspection items, which ones to do. Can they get away with none of them? Are they going to capitulate and go in with, a big chunk of money off the top? These are all things that they need to consider. And God forbid something goes wrong and somebody goes askew in the contract, who's going to hold those people to the fire? Who's going to make sure they follow the letter of their contract and do what they say they're going to do? The sale by owner's going to have to hire an attorney on them. That's what they're going to have to do. You know how much an attorney costs? Attorney costs a lot of money.
That is
yes. Oh my God.
very, very astute. Say that script again.
I'm like,
No,
For sale by owner, there's like a contract. Let's say they get lucky, they get the multiple offers, they got 5 offers on the table. First of all, they got to determine which one is the best one, okay? And the most solid. So, do they have the experience to do that? It's like working on a car. I'm not going to go touch the engine of my car because I don't know what I'm doing.
Especially at Porsche.
Especially at Porsche. Then there's the fact that, okay, you got to get through the inspection period. Are you going to give away you're going to give away the farm, or are you going to negotiate it properly? Then has the buyer made the loan application? Has the appraisal been ordered? Did you meet the appraisal? Because if you went above the normal comps, the appraiser may give you a low ball appraisal. And if you don't show up with the proper comps, they're not going to know how to pull those. And they have no idea. They're going to say, Susan's house is 6,000 square feet bigger than yours. Of course it sold for $60,000 more than yours. But they don't get that. Then, did the financing get approved? Did all of these pieces come to fruition? And did, maybe the buyer gets cold feet? Who's going to hold them to the fire? Who's going to say, you agreed to purchase this property? You could probably get the earnest money, or let's say the seller gets cold feet. You got to make sure that those things go through and that they're taken care of as you go through the process. And any mistake along the line there, let's face it, a mistake on the inspection or a mistake on the appraisal can cost 2, 5, 7%. And that seller is out not only the commission they save, but a whole lot more.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, yeah.
I had a sale back in February, and she wanted to sell it for sale by owner, and I talked her out of it, and we got $45,000 more than what she was initially thinking.
Exactly.
So after the house sold for $20,000 more than asked, I sent postcards out to the neighborhood. I got a call from one person. He immediately was in on the commission, like, oh, blah, blah. I said, well, I can do 6, 7, or 8%, like you said. And he's like, well, don't you know that there's like some thing going with the White House, and there's gonna be collusion with the 6% interest and all this stuff. And he's kind of just felt it out that whatever I did with this guy wasn't gonna be good enough. And eventually, he goes, I'm just gonna rent it out. And then 3 days later, I found out he listed it with someone with 5%, and it ended up selling. But
let me tell you about those people. Best thing that ever happened to you was not having to deal with that guy.
Yes.
I can promise you. I have learned over and over again that the ones that don't fit and don't work with you, they are more headache, and most of the time they don't close and they fall apart, and those people drive you crazy, which keeps you from getting the other business that is the good business.
Energy suckers.
Yeah,
Energy
the people
suck
that
and
your
lose.
energy.
he would have been that guy.
And the thing is, when they suck your energy, you distribute that out to all your other people,
Yeah.
and you damage those deals. So don't worry about the ones that you lose, go for the ones that you do get and get the real.
When you
position.
initially
So
don't
you're
get it,
gonna
it's
find-
like, oh
You know what
man.
Marcia said though, remember what she said, there's more than enough business out there for everybody. There is more than enough business out there for everybody. This is a world of wealth and abundance. Now, if you listen to CNN, you're gonna wanna go jump off the top of that building. I would suggest that you don't listen to the news right now. And I'm someone who loves to be well informed, right? But, lately I just can't listen to it because this is a mindset, heart set, soul set, health set business, right? So, I would venture to say that you both have, I know you both have rituals about how to keep your, Marcia, why don't you talk a little bit about your own personal rituals? How do you keep your mindset and your heart set intact? Because I will say this, if you're not doing that, once you start a ritual, you'll value yourself more. Marcia?
So, rituals. I started a new ritual today. Actually, we were talking about it earlier. I'm embracing my mid-40s, finally, after I'm in the end of my 40s. And I started weight training, like all women in midlife are told to weight train. So with this
Abundance.
right, so with this unbelievable honor to sit here today, I decided to start that program this morning. It was very interesting from 6 to 7, but I did it, and I'm here, and I already have 6,000 steps. But I think the first thing a ritual is, it comes again from that class. That class was very meaningful to me, as was your listing presentation class. I still use it today. But the abundance is, you have to figure out how to look in the mirror and really be okay with that. And we're raised in America and Western culture where we're always trying to improve, which is great. But you also have to be able at some point to look in the mirror and say, I can work with that. You know what I mean? And that goes for.
Well, honey, I hope you straightened your crown today.
And I have to look around me in any field really and say, you know what, Brew Crabs, I was the first open house, and I thought, all right, here's a system. He just gave me 20 points on an open house in 10 minutes, and this is what it needs to be. And everybody said the same thing. Figure out your system, figure out your system, figure out your system, and then you have something to offer. I also looked around at some top producers and found out that they're not any smarter than me. They're not any skinnier than me, or fatter than me, or tighter than me, or blonder. They're just doing the same thing I'm doing. So that's my ritual. I think that's the biggest thing for me is to figure out what you're doing and what you're here for.
Well, one of the main things I heard is, and I really believe this, you're loving and appreciating who you are when you look in that mirror. Our flaws are what make us lovable. Our flaws are, and we all have them. Our flaws are what make us lovable, and actually being authentic and real, that's what attracts others to us,
Being yourself, absolutely. They're not your people, they're not your people. It's okay. It's okay. They're not worth it. They don't fit. I agree with you that exercise is incredibly important. I didn't do it today, and I can tell a huge difference. The physiology and your mindset is tremendously affected by the amount of exercise that you do. When you do a lot of cardio, keep yourself in good shape, you feel good. I know for myself, I go out and party all the weekend long, I don't feel so good on Monday morning. And
you know why, Ruth? Because our grace period is over.
yes.
Remember,
I can't do that anymore.
we may not look it, but our grace period is over once you get to a certain. I remember when I was in my 20s, I could party until 2 a.m. and then go to work.
Yeah.
Then
No
go to
more.
work the next day.
Well, and it does affect your physiology. Even if you say everything perfectly, if you're projecting it like a 50% versus 115%, it comes across. And I can come into a presentation at 115% and say the dumbest stuff in the world and still get the listing.
That's right.
or still get the deal, and then I can go into one and say everything absolutely perfect, and I'm feeling about 50%.
Because
Those are the ones that don't go so
you
well.
weren't present.
Right, you're not
You
present.
know, this is, did any of you, I was watching, there is one thing on CNN I like, and it's, now, there's I can't remember her name, she's the political one, Dana Bash.
Yeah.
She's now doing, a day in the life of, and actually, of all people, I was watching this, she did a day in the life of Barry Manilow. Now, I know what you're thinking, Barry Manilow, really? Broker Bell? But Barry Manilow is fascinating to me because he's 78. Okay? He's 78, and he has now done more Las Vegas concerts than Elvis Presley. He is 78, performing on stage with this high level of energy, and packed house. And he said, I'll tell you another interesting little caveat. When I lived in Los Angeles in my 20s, I went to acting classes, and I had a coach named Nina Foch, and she was a great dame. She actually was Barry Manilow's coach, because he likes to make it look like he's performing for the first time. He wants his music to be fresh. Although he's sung these songs, thousands and thousands and thousands of times, he said something very interesting. He said, I connect with my audience. I have my eyes open. I'm in the present every minute, every second. And I think that, and I know what Nina taught him, it's the same thing that she taught us in acting class. He breaks down each song and he puts little memories in it so that he can bring it to life for the audience. But he said a lot of performers now, he said you watch them, they've got their eyes closed, they're not really connecting with their audience. So to Bruce's point, so many good things can happen when you're just in the present.
And be prepared. One of the things that I do, and I can tell a big difference when I don't practice my listing presentation like 5 times before I go. It's totally different, because if you sit there, because a lot of times people see me sitting in the office talking to the chair by myself. Some of you guys I know have seen me do talking to the chair in there. And I'm sitting there going through the presentation just as if I was talking to the customer, saying their name, visualizing how it's going to go. And that way when I go into the presentation, I'm no longer thinking about the presentation at all. I know that. That's just like history. It's just like me, brushing my teeth. It's like I can just go right through it. And I'm listening to them. And when you listen to them, and when you actively listen to the customer and make them feel important, it gets you a tremendous amount further than you're just trying to make a regular presentation. Does that make sense? So be sure that you practice this presentation. I cannot tell you the difference between when I run through it 5 times and when I go grab the thing and have to go at a last minute presentation and try to put it together. Not that I can't do it, but this one here is way, way, way better, because I'm no longer paying attention to that presentation. I'm paying attention to that customer. And when you pay attention to the customer, that's really what gets you the deal more so than your presentation, is them, as you're connecting with them, and when you listen to them and hear what they say and repeat what they say. When they say to you, whatever it is. So what you're saying is you really want this to be a smooth process. Make sure that they know that you heard what they said. It's really, really important.
And it builds trust.
Builds trust and confidence in you.
Another thing, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, Brew, one thing you taught me is consistent in regards to your questions. Like, you stick to your questions. And so for me, easily, distracted, I've been learning that it is.
But I gave you my sheet, right? My sheet of questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just staple that to the front of my folder and just
Right.
go, how much do you want for the house? Have you had any bad experiences?
Right.
And then I write it down, they see me write it down, so they know that I'm listening to them.
Yeah, so that has helped me tremendously, so I say thank you.
Well, that's the part of listening to them, really, more than anything
Right.
the questions are,
Right.
is hearing what they said and then you writing it down. Then they know you heard, because you can sit there, I heard you.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're not listening to me.
Right,
And
exactly.
they're all thinking about space, and they need to know that you're listening to them.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. I have to second that. As annoying as it may be to talk to yourself, do it. This is your job.
That's my
Or
favorite
grab
part.
somebody here and
My
practice.
favorite conversation I have every day is the one with myself.
Right. But do it. Practice. It's to me, it's a practice in stoicism. and stoicism is basically, it's just being stoic. It's not allowing the forces around you to affect you and continuing on your path. We all have things that happen in our lives that push us off our paths. None is bigger or worse than the other. They're all big. A broken heart at 16 hurts just as bad as 60. You know, I've never heard anybody happy about a divorce or a broken heart at 16. So I have to say that the more you can practice knowing your scripts, making those phone calls, you know, Dan Forsman cold calls people. Valerie cold calls people. You're not too good to cold call people. Are you gonna get a listing from cold calling people? Maybe. But what you're gonna build is that script. And you're gonna build that knowledge in interacting with other people. That's what I feel. But I do think the script is super important. There's something else I was gonna say.
Well, what they're saying is sweat more in training, bleed less in battle.
That's right, that's right.
Sweat more in training, bleed less in battle. I can't say that enough. I know for those of you who've been in my classes, I know I say it a lot, but it is so true.
Valerie, I think one thing that I've experienced over the last 3 years studying under you is your focus on world-class service has refined mine. And one thing that I found to open conversations that is the most wonderful, it gets the best responses is, how can I help you? Anything from at the lacrosse field this weekend, oh, you're a realtor, oh, a house in my neighborhood just sold for like 50,000 over ask. Listen, here's my card, if I can ever help you, please let me know. And no joke, call later that day, you know, my mom is trying to sell that house in East Point. It's all about the service, and I feel like if you can refine that while learning your scripts and strategies, I think that's a winning combination. And dress is really cute too.
Any other questions for our esteemed panel? I think you can ask them anything. They're so and give them a hand for being willing to share. So important that they're willing to share their knowledge with you. Anybody have a question or a comment? Rose.
I was gonna say, Marcia, you have a really good 7-step process, right? Do you mind sharing that? Or is it the 7-step process? What do you call that?
The postcard thing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so many different versions of that now. So so that was my first listing because you came to this office right when I started. My first listing was an expired listing, and it came from postcards and handwritten notes. And that was $1 million listing. I didn't end up selling it, but he is still under contract with me, so eventually he will sell it. And they do it.
Now that takes
It will
time.
make the luxury division very happy about it. But that was a process that basically introduces myself with marketing that I learned from all these other people. Nothing is new, nothing is original for me. It's just postcards in some sort of order and a handwritten note. And once you let people know that you're available to them, you can move on to the next. And eventually, you're going to be overwhelmed with people to help because everybody needs help. That's what I think. So, the 7-step process is all sorts of things: postcards, door knocking, leaving gifts on their doorstep, whatever.
And you guys have to remember, you guys are backed by the best resources in the business. You have a full staff who does your marketing, who does your contract compliance, who does your MLS entries, who double checks your contracts when they go through, who holds your earnest money, who provides you the best systems in the business, puts you on 43,000 different websites, gives you Real Scout, gives you trend graphics, gives you all these tools to help your clients. And that's something that a discount broker or somebody that's cutting their commission is not gonna have. I don't care what brokerage you're with, they don't have all of these pieces that you guys have. So that alone makes your commission worth the full amount. Even if you have no experience or you're just starting in the business, you have the power of Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 recognized brand in the world, walking in the door. So remember, Berkshire Hathaway alone is one big ticket, maybe. Let me tell you.
It is, yeah, it's not an accident that you're here,
Okay.
at all.
I only want to cost one time. I was talking to somebody down the country, and I was like, you know, Warren Buffett, and she goes, I've never been to a concert of his before. And that's the only time I've ever come across anybody not knowing who Warren Buffett was.
She was wasted again, Margarita.
Well, I was like, I didn't even really know what to say, but okay. But nonetheless, the name Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway goes a very, very long way, especially with really anybody who's selling a house. They've got some sort of knowledge of that, so it's important.
Right.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? This has been a really great mastermind. Questions? No? Davis Land, hi. Thank you for being with us today.
Good stuff.
It is good stuff. And what I'm curious, in your world, do people ever ask you to cut your fee or?
We can't cut fees. I mean,
Oh, see, all he has to do is say, we can't do it.
it's
I
illegal.
can't.
It's illegal for us to do it. Now, I mean, if we have a deal that we're scratching and clawing for, and usually it's a capture rate deal. We can do a house deal. I don't like to do a house deal because I don't get paid a dime on a house deal, and I still have to work the deal. That's cutting my commission. So usually I'll just tell them to go somewhere else. I mean, at that point, I'm probably going to deal with more of a headache. I love how Bruce says if you don't get that feeling that they're going to be good to work with, let them go. I mean, I hate to say it, because we all want the commissions, we all need the commissions, we all got to put food on the table, but usually those are going to be the ones that are the biggest pain in the butt.
They're the ones that.
If they're begging for you to reduce commissions, they're going to be a pain in the butt.
You know, I do want to mention that because this is our livelihood. This is what we do. You know, would you ask your doctor to cut his fee for your surgery or you know, this is, and sometimes, not always, sometimes friends and family don't necessarily respect or understand what we do. So I don't believe in a friends and family discount. I really don't.
They're usually the hardest ones to work with.
They're absolutely are. Exactly.
Well, and
I had one example. I had a friend reach out to me and she asked me to cut commissions, and she was a teacher, and I was like, well, if I send my kids to your school, are you going to teach them for cheaper than, because I'm a friend? And she goes, well, it's different. I said, no, it's not. It's not different at all. It's just because we work on a commission base doesn't mean it's any different than what you're doing. So that was kind of my example there. But I mean, yeah, I think friends and family are always the most difficult. I mean, I really do. So you should probably charge them more.
That's right. That's right.
No, if it were up to me, our commissions would be 2%. I really believe that we're worth more than 6%. We're not really getting paid enough right now. That's how I feel about it. All right. Well, listen. Thank you all. Thank you. And I will see you all on Wednesday. I can't remember what I'm teaching, but I'll see you Wednesday. Thank you.
Good. Amazing. Good job.